Right to work is now the law of the land in Michigan. After a contentious battle at the state capitol, the legislation went into effect at the end of March. NBC 25's Walter Smith-Randolph sat down with some Michiganders who are feeling the first effects of that law. Here's more of this NBC 25 special report, Right to Work 5 months later.
It's a hot topic that filled Michigan's state capitol with hundreds of protesters. These protesters were making sure legislators heard their opinion about right to work.
Now the union stewards can improve their commitment to those members who desire better service.
How could this legislature now change its tune?
Also making sure their voices were heard, Brian Panabaker and Frank Berger.
We call it freedom to freeload.
Both union workers, both have strong opinions about the new law.
I work for Ford Motor Company. I shouldn't have to give somebody else money to work for them.
Frank is a teacher in the Carman-Answorth School District and a member of the Michigan Education Association.
I do feel like we are being attacked.
Brian works at the Ford plant in Sterling Heights. He's a member of the UAW.
So I just think it's a freedom and liberty issue for me personally.
He's one of a few union workers who support right to work.
I'm not against unions and collective bargaining. That's a good thing. But I shouldn't be told that if I want to work for a certain company, I have to give money to the unions.
Brian says he supports his union, the UAW, but he believes unions have grown too large. Frank, on the other hand, lives 3 miles from this spot, the site of the Flint sit-down strike. He says for him, it's more than history. It's about the future.
Don't take away the voice of the educator in the classroom.
This is not something that really will change the way that the earth rotates.
Robert Boonin specializes in labor law. He says right to work won't change much, but the future political influence of unions is shaky.
I think the unions will have less resources for their political causes.
That's what Frank is worried about. He fears less resources means less input from workers.
I think the future is very uncertain right now in the state of Michigan.
Governor Rick Snyder signed the legislation despite insisting right to work was not his priority. NBC 25's repeated requests for an interview with the governor were turned down. In a past interview, he told us right to work would help Michigan attract new businesses.
They did similar legislation back in February. They've had over 30 companies commit to come to Indiana that previously wouldn't look at Indiana because of this issue. They're bringing thousands of jobs to Indiana, good jobs.
Brian and Frank are waiting to see how right to work pans out. Meantime, they both hope their voices aren't silenced.
If they let me have more of a voice within the union and start asking me what they should do rather than telling me what to do, then I might stay in the union if I feel like I can have a voice and an impact.
Our voice should be there. We want to be there and work with you to bring the state forward.
Now, Mr. Boonin tells me the effects of right to work have been more emotional than practical. There are several challenges to the new law, but labor lawyers say those challenges won't get very far in the court system. It looks like right to work will remain the law of the land here in the Great Lakes state. In the studio, Walter Smith-Randolph, NBC 25 News.